Join us on the last bus home.
And that's why we would rather use bricks.
Fair enough. You can't argue with a brick.
Well, the best answers are the simplest. So, today, I thought we would revisit a topic that we've already covered.
Nice.
So, we're going to refer to this as Beast Men and Beast Women 2.
Oof. Now, I know I'm a bit biased, but I would say that's up there as one of my my favourite episodes.
Yeah.
It was a fun one. So I guess we're going to explore a few more Beast Men and Beast Women.
We are. This one, the couple of silly ones, but all the Beast Men and Beast Women in this one, most of them are more famous than the first ones.
Okay.
Okay. So I will get straight in, and we're going to start with Loveland Frogmen.
Nice.
Okay. The Loveland Frogmen are bipedal frogs, as made evident due to their leathery skin, as well as their webbed hands and feet. The creatures have frog-like heads with wrinkly skin on top. They're around 1 meter tall, and they're known to live in Claremont County, Ohio. The creatures live in a temperate forest and are able to survive the cold winters of the region without having to hibernate. Now, to say they're cryptids and rarely spotted, that's a pretty decent amount of research gone into them there.
I would say so.
Yeah. So the frogmen apparently have the physical ability to use sticks like tools. However, they also have an ability they can use those sticks to emit sparks like a wand. This could mean that the frogs have an ability to control electricity in some way. These amphibious anomalies have shocked and terrified businessmen, farmers, and police officers, and remain one of the most intriguing cryptozoological mysteries in the United States.
Man, I've not heard too much about these guys.
Really? You will definitely have seen pictures of them. There's just quite a few naff drawings of like frogs stood up.
Well, it's going to be, I think, pretty much a theme for the whole episode, but instantly, again, I'm getting gang vibes. Do you know what I mean? I'm seeing badass warriors.
We're seeing, well, I can see you're buying into a lot of the Ninja Turtle spin-offs.
Maybe.
I believe there was a Toad one.
There was. Maybe that's where they're based off. Cryptids.
Hey, which came first? We'll never know. So one of the most intriguing cases encountered is that one of the Loveland Frogmen, or also known as Loveland Lizards. So
I like that.
You see, introducing the word lizards kind of changes up the creatures, and we can go down a David Icke road.
Yeah, true.
You know, because frogs are amphibious, and I could beat a frog. Lizards, big walking lizards, I'd probably struggle with.
Yeah, what we're saying here, I mean, frogmen, straight up frogs. Don't bring lizards into it.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with frogmen because that's what I titled it, so that's what they are.
Good man.
And if the world wants a different creature, they can email me and ask me to title whatever creature, and then it will become official.
Nice.
I've appointed myself Creature Namer General.
Good service.
Well, someone's got to do it.
Well, thank you, sir.
I do it for everybody else, not for myself. So the story of these unique creatures begins in May of 1955 on a lonely stretch of road that runs along the Miami River in Claremont County, just on the outskirts of a small town known as Loveland, Ohio. At approximately 3:30 a.m., a businessman named Robert Honeycutt claimed to have witnessed 3 bipedal quasi-reptilian entities congregating by the side of the road. The man pulled up his car to the curb and observed these creatures for what he estimated to be about 3 minutes. So it's a good standard time to observe something really scary.
I'd say so. Perfect time as well to get your phone out and record it, but, who am I?
Well, yeah, who are you in May of 1955 with your smartphone?
Fair play.
Yeah.
My bad.
So it probably took him a while to get his tripod out and set it up without alerting him.
You're off the hook, Robert.
But maybe he did scribble that naff picture of a stood-up frog that we do see in the books.
This is it.
But 3 minutes, that's a heroic amount of time to stand watching monsters. I feel 2-3 seconds tops before I start burning the soles of my trainers off.
Yeah, it's a long time.
So during this time, we noticed that these strange beings stood between 3 and 4 feet tall, were covered with grey, leathery skin and had webbed hands and feet. The most distinguishing characteristics, however, was their distinctly frog-like heads, which the man claimed bore deep wrinkles where their hair should have been. I'm wondering if Baron Greenback was a Loveland frog.
Definitely had male features. They were really actually frog men.
I just don't find frogs scary. Although the Spiderwick Chronicles frogs were pretty freakish. So yeah, deep wrinkles where the hair should have been. So I think the wavy wrinkles might have given the impression of hair.
Yeah.
That would have been cool. That's easy to keep on top of. So just as the man was about to steal away, one of the creatures suddenly held what the witness can only describe as a wand above its head. The anonymous source further claimed that the sparks spewed out of the end of this device. He left post-haste. At about 1 a.m. on March the 3rd, 1972, so this is nearly 17 years after the first report, and there are still no smartphones, a police officer, who understandably chose to remain anonymous, was travelling along Riverside Road heading towards Loveland when he saw something that would forever change his life. The officer claimed that he was driving slowly due to the substantial amount of ice on the road when he saw what looked like a dog by the curb. So, suddenly, the animal darted in front of the cruiser, forcing the officer to slam on the brakes in order to avoid potential collision. Once the police cruiser came to a halt, its headlights fell upon the prone animal. At this point, the officer described something that seemed literally too bizarre to be true. In the span of seconds, this crouched, frog-like creature stood on 2 legs, stared back at the policeman, and then scrambled over the guardrail and scurried down the embankment, finally disappearing into the Ohio River.
Nice.
The officer in question described this creature as being 3 to 4 feet tall and weighing in the area of 50 to 75 pounds. He also claimed that its skin had a leathery texture and that the animal's features resembled those of a frog or lizard. Another officer investigated the scene later that evening. He saw no sign of the creature, but reported that there were distinct scratch marks on the guardrail where the animal purportedly crossed. Another sighting occurred 2 weeks later. Still no smartphones. When police officer Mark Matthews had an encounter of his own. According to the report, Officer Matthews, while driving into Loveland, spotted what he believed to be an injured animal lying on the pavement. Matthews climbed out of the cruiser with the intention of removing the carcass from the already ice-slicked road, and when the creature abruptly lurched upwards into a crouched position. Taken aback by the frogman's reptilian visage, Matthews he didn't upholster his revolver at all. He unholstered it and treated it to a bit of freedom. And then he proceeded to hobble over to the side of the road, and it stepped over the guardrail, all while keeping a watchful eye on the trigger-happy Officer Matthews. Frogman matched the first officer's description down to the last detail, with the exception of a tail which was absent in earlier reports. I'm going to say frogs don't have tails.
I wouldn't have thought so.
Maybe they're doing the babies.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about the Loveland tadpole men, are we? We're talking about Loveland frogmen.
Exactly.
Exactly. So, in the years which have followed these events, Officer Matthews has reneged somewhat on his tale. He now claims that the animal in question was nothing more than a large reptile which escaped from its owner. He further insists that the only reason he shot at the creature was to help confirm a fellow officer's story, a story which was, of course, being met with predictable scepticism by their superiors. Whether or not Matthews' change of heart was inspired by ridicule or the fading memory of an event from which he was 30 years removed, the fact remains that his own testimony counter indicates his later retraction.
Fair enough. There's plenty of sightings of these boys. Plenty of interactions.
There seems to be along one road. At what point would they think maybe some trail cams or some CCTV might be helpful along that stretch of road?
You would have thought so, but just taking it back to the cryptid gang law, who else would you find just chilling on the side of a road? You don't get your average cryptid just hanging out in a hood, do you?
Well, you do with crocodile men who have waistcoat-shaped scales.
This is what I'm saying.
They don't care about anything. They'll hang out where they want.
It's cryptid gang culture. It exists, and we need to accept that fact. Stop ignoring it.
I'm guessing the webbed digits would get in the way of throwing gang signs.
Hey, life finds a way, in the words of Dr. Goldblum.
True. So, in a 2001 email interview, Officer Mark Matthews, now retired, explained that the incident was habitually blown out of proportion. He stated that it was and is no monster. It was not leathery or had wet matted fur. It was not 3 to 5 feet tall. It did not stand erect. And the animal I saw was obviously some type of lizard that someone had as a pet that either got too large for its aquarium, escaped by accident, or they simply got tired of it. It was less than 3 feet in length, ran across the road, and was probably blinded by my headlights. It presented no aggressive action. Matthews attempted to shoot the creature in order to back up the account of his partner's sighting a few nights prior, but the lizard escaped, most likely to die from its injury or from the bitter freezing cold. A frogman was spotted in mid-August 2016 by Sam Jacobs and his girlfriend while they were playing Pokemon Go on a smartphone in Cincinnati. The location of the sighting cast doubt on its authenticity.
Imagine the points if you're out trying to catch Pokemon and you actually capture a cryptid.
Hey, I would give you a trophy.
Thanks.
And I'd have it engraved with something like, well done.
Yeah, you're going to be rich if you manage to take a picture of that bad boy.
Yeah. So that brings us to the end of the old Loveland frogmen. What are your thoughts?
I like them. Again, total gang vibes. I like these boys. They seem to be not scared of us humans. They're doing the thing. I don't see a lot of purpose.
Well, they don't wield bats or knuckle dusters, these guys. They've got wands. Just like in Spiderwick Chronicles. I'm wondering which came first there.
Right, so you got to picture this. You're in a gang fight, and one of the gangs pulls out wands.
Oh, just in general?
Just in general.
Just one of my normal weekday gang fights.
This is it.
Okay.
Just, you and your boys.
Yeah. The school night gang fight. Yeah, just the standard ones.
This is it.
Okay.
And then the opposite gang square up to you and they whip out wands. You're hardly going to be intimidated, are you? You're probably going to be like, nah, boys, not happening.
Well, yeah, at first I'd do some kind of like Bruce Willis one-liner to him. But then if those ones started sparking, I'd probably like take my words back.
Yeah, I think once they retort to your one-liner with a Harry Potter one-liner, I think it's safe to say he quids him.
Oh, well, they start throwing some like pseudo Latin at me.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, so I like them boys.
Yeah. So they seem to. I did read a little bit about. There are certain kinds of frogs, big frogs, that like to lean on things and let their legs dangle.
Yeah, that's
So
kind of like a
maybe
badass
these
frog
frogs
thing.
were on the guardrail and just letting their legs hang for a bit, or maybe unsticking the sack from the thigh. Who knows?
It's pretty much what frogs do.
Pretty well. I would say frogs are pretty much a sack on legs, but there was another doctor, well, some scientist, debunking them simply by saying, well, frogs are not bipedal.
Loser.
Yeah, nerd. But yeah, that's how that one goes.
Well,
Right.
smooth and naysayers.
So, having exhausted the Loveland Frogmen and butchering them completely, we can now move on to the Goat Man.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
Always time for a goat man.
yeah, I mean, a man with goat's eyes that is already on the demon list.
Yeah, and horns. Jeez.
Yeah. Well, there was someone in one of our other episodes that said they saw a demonic goat, but didn't really tell us what made it demonic.
Exactly.
But maybe we'll find out now. So, as an aside, if you were to look up on the internet the Goat Man and start looking at some images, I don't know why, but people seem to really prefer to draw him looking very handsome. As
Yeah, in a suit,
as a
dapper.
man goat can be. You know, like the hair looks luscious and the chin's good and firm and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You
Do you
know.
know I'll blame for that? The film Constantine. Weirdos as well. But yeah, when any kind of film that portrays the devil as like some suave businessman, American Psycho type dealy, do you know, that's what's to blame.
All right.
We need to take it back to old school, kind of like maybe like 70s British horror, where it's just a grim dude in a cloak. Pagan shit. That's what I'm about.
Okay. Well, let's get into it and let's see where it leads us. So, the Goat Man is a humanoid cryptid most commonly associated with Louisiana, Maryland, and Texas. It is described as a 7-foot-tall hybrid creature, part man, part goat. Some claim it is a relative of the New Orleans evil chupacabra-like cryptid, the Grunch. I mean, it couldn't sound less scary. They could have called it fairy cake, it'd have been more frightening. But yeah, the Grunch.
Nice.
So the urban legends often tell of it killing young couples in parked cars or scouring neighborhoods killing family pets. The low-hanging
That's
fruit.
quite specific.
Well, they might not all be family pets, they just might be small animals.
What if you sat in a car with your sister? Does he like move along?
Well, you've just ruined what I was about to say there, but this just seems to be some kind of lover's lane psycho, so I wouldn't be sat anywhere like that with my sister.
That's true.
Yeah.
Fair play.
But anyway, so yeah, killing young couples in parked cars. So, okay, I'll give you that. It doesn't specifically say lover's lane killings. Just if you're young and there's two of you in a car,
Yep.
get ready.
Man.
So, there are also tales of it breaking into people's houses and forcing relations on its victims.
What?
Yeah. And many attest from the areas that he haunts, It does not matter if you are a man or a woman. He will overtake you and force relations on you nonetheless.
Bloody hell, you Randy Bugger. What's he playing
So
at?
for Goatman, any hole's a goal. All
Jeez.
kills count.
Oh,
Yeah. So we obviously know, well, I say obviously, I'm pretty sure he doesn't have a goat's willy. But then again, I've not seen a goat's willy if it'd be more useful in these forceful situations or not. I really don't know. And the less I think about it, probably the better. When scared teenagers whisper about the goat man, not all agree on the form he takes. Some say he was a man who kept goats and went mad after teenagers killed his flock, driven to seek revenge against any youngster. But perhaps the most titillating version traces the origin of the goat man to the Beltsville Agricultural Research Center, a sprawling USDA facility anchored by a big brick building appointed with white columns. In this version, a mad scientist is conducting experiments on a goat when something goes horribly wrong, turning him into a half-man, half-goat beast that is naturally hungry for blood.
sounds legit.
Absolutely. Personally, I'll sway more towards the first one.
Yeah.
The second one's more fun, though. He may not be as famous as his cryptid cousins Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster, but Goatman has a devoted following. The stories began surfacing a long time ago, according to Dr. Barry Pearson, a folklorist at the University of Maryland, which happens to be in Prince George's County and is home to a Goatman archive.
Whoa.
The earliest sightings date back to 520 BCE as the satyrs of Greek mythology, who held an almost identical role despite 2,500 years having passed.
Oh, could this be the oldest cryptid?
Quite possibly. Although,
Damn.
no, actually, no. Because sea monsters are supposed to be dinosaurs, some of them. They predate it. But when there were dinosaurs, they weren't cryptids because they were here, they were normal. It's later they became cryptids. So maybe these might be the oldest cryptids.
Yeah. Yeah, I draw the line on dinosaurs. They are no cryptids.
Well, no, they weren't then, but they would be now.
I guess.
They're supposed to be extinct, so if we see one, it's cryptozoology.
I get it.
So we've got a few Goatman spin-offs for you. Some
Nice.
localized versions. So we'll start. These are just so silly. Right, we've got the Waterford Sheepman.
Okay.
Right. The Waterford Sheepman is an abominable creature that terrorized the small rural town of Waterford, Pennsylvania, in the early 1970s. It lurked in farm fields, stalking the unwitting animals in a desire to tear them apart and feed on their flesh and blood. Whoa. Hundreds of people witnessed this creature. It's also referred to as Goatman. So Marilyn knew of the Goatman legend as a teenager in the 70s, but along with the stories, she had also seen it with her own eyes on more than one occasion. I lived on Baghdad Road, and I saw this figure running across the dirt road at one point near the old sawmill. She remembers that at the time there was much talk about the legend, with many people catching a glimpse of the creature darting across the road or into the bush along farm fields. She had a second encounter with the monster when she was 17. She was there that one night I drove home, and right before I turned into my driveway, there he was, running across the road into the woods. So these terrifying monsters seem to be running away all the time. So I'm going to question the description of the Waterford sheepman is an abominable creature.
Yeah, and I think it detracts from his scariness when you refer to him as a sheep.
A sheep.
Yeah.
Yes. A ruminant, like a goat.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we love a tale. So the next spin-off, we have the Maryland Goatman. Not
Nice.
the Goatman from Maryland that we heard before. This is the Maryland Goatman. This one's apparently a bit different. So, according to legend, the Maryland Goatman is an axe-wielding, half-man, half-animal creature that was once a scientist who worked in the Beltsville Agricultural Research Centre. The tale holds that he was experimenting on goats. The experiment went awry, and he began attacking cars with an axe, roaming in the back roads of Beltsville, Maryland. A variation of the legend tells of the Goatman as an old hermit who lives in the woods, seen walking alone at night along Fletchertown Road. So pretty much the same as the other scientist, except the other scientist made the Goatman, whereas this scientist became the Goatman. He might have been bitten by a radioactive goat.
I like that.
So, the next one, another spin-off. We've got the Pope Lick Monster.
Nice.
Okay. The Pope Lick Monster is a legendary part man, part goat, and part sheep creature reported to live beneath Norfolk's Southern Railroad trestle over Floyd's Fork Creek in the Fisherville area of Louisville, Kentucky. Now that's specific.
That is specific.
In most accounts, the Pope Lick Monster, named after the Pope Lick Creek below the Pope Lick train trestle, appears as a human-goat hybrid with the grotesquely deformed body of a man. It has powerful, fur-covered goat legs, an alabaster-skinned face with an aquiline nose and wide-set eyes. Short, sharp horns protrude from the forehead, nestled in long, greasy hair that matches the colour of the fur on the legs. So the curtains match the drapes, or whatever it's called. Carpet matches the drapes. So that's the Pope Lick Monster. So we've got very little information, but a very, very specific habitat. So I'm guessing we could get more information if we know exactly down to the bridge it lives under.
Yeah, and where it does its attacks would be good to know.
Well, maybe it does a lot of attempting to attack trains, since it's a train bridge. And that's why he's so grotesquely deformed, because he keeps losing and not learning.
I like that part of it.
Yeah. So, we've got the next one now. We've got the Proctor Valley Monster, another spin-off.
Still the goats, yeah?
Yeah, we're still on Goatman spin-offs here.
Good.
Said to be 7 feet tall and a deranged cow, the Proctor Valley Monster provides numerous points of evidence for the Goatman's existence, including a footprint. Nice. The legend of the Proctor Valley Monster grew, and it is described as 7 foot tall, hairy humanoid like a Bigfoot, or sometimes a cow-like animal, with its body parts in the wrong place.
What the hell does that mean?
Dick on its head.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Point, yeah.
That's exactly where I went to.
So at the moment, I've got a Minotaur in my head with its ghoulies above its eyebrows.
Hell yeah.
So the Proctor Valley Monster is assumed to be responsible for the livestock mutilations that occur every now and then. The Bonita Museum in Chula Vista has a casting of a strange footprint alleged to be that of the monster. Almost identical to all Goatman stories, the Proctor Valley Monster seems like a tale told around a campfire. Just right for a Hollywood B movie. A teenage couple go parking in the woods off Proctor Valley Road in the southeast corner of San Diego County in California. The car won't start, or maybe they had a flat tire, and the boy gets out to investigate, but he doesn't come back. The girl stays inside, terrified, because she hears scratching on the outside of the car. Police find her the next day, still hiding in the car. The boyfriend? He's dead, torn and bloody, dangling from a tree, while his hands brush the car, producing scratching noises. The story sometimes has mysterious huge footprints found nearby.
Pretty standard horror movie jibes.
Yep. So, a local psychiatrist who once lived in Alpine quite seriously claims to have seen a Bigfoot-type creature in the hills near his house. The doctor has shied from publicity, saying he wants to write his own book on the events, but third-hand accounts say he described it as 6 or 7 feet tall, hairy creature accompanied by 2 similar critters. He made a plaster cast of a footprint 16 inches long and 8 inches wide. He also related many strange happenings and sounds around his home. Park rangers and other investigators could never confirm the sightings, but plenty of campers, area residents, and even a sheriff's deputy claimed to have seen some large, hairy thing tromping the hills of Alpine. One investigator into Bigfoot phenomena knows that the early Viejas Indians have a legend of a similar creature that guards their burial grounds. Until the doctor writes his book, this is about all we know. So that turned into a Bigfoot story very quickly. But
yeah,
that's the end of our Goatman sessions and spin-offs. So,
well,
thoughts?
when you first mentioned Goatman, I was like, hell yeah, that's badass. But I mean, cryptids are scary, sex pests are scary, but I don't want to mix the two.
Sex pests are more scary.
I don't know. I kind of like the image of him is pretty terrifying.
A cryptid sex pest with an axe is scary.
True. Sex pest with a cigar, even scarier. But you know what are you going to do? Yeah, I mean, but yeah, visually terrifying. All the reports seem to state that he was pretty much over 7 foot. So, big dude. You got to differentiate. You got to decide between your goats and your sheeps, because sheep man ain't as bad. He's not.
Well, it's
really
not fair on sheep. You know
exactly. He's not going to strike.
They like to be recognised as sheep, not goats.
Just a dude in a woolly jacket at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? But goat man, if he's got full on horn, if he's gone full goat, and he's got full-on horns, messed up goat eyes, snout, but he's a dude. Yeah, I'm all about that. Murdering your victims brutally, it's part of cryptid law, but when you're forcing yourself upon people, it's like, really? You're just a randy cryptid.
That's when you got to tell them, look, step back. You're not following the rules now.
This is it.
But this is why we spay animals a lot.
Yeah, that's true. We can't really trust them to
spay themselves.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, let's show me a cryptid. We'll spay them and then say go about your business. Murder, stalk, do your cryptid thing.
But then again, if you spay a half man, half goat, he's going to go and do something stupid.
You reckon?
I would. If I was forcefully spayed, yeah. I'd have an issue.
Of course you would. And he'd have full-on man balls. So, not a nice situation.
Goat balls and a man willy.
Hey.
Who knows?
Now we're getting into science.
Yeah, the real questions.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's leave that in the rearview mirror. And let's head forwards to the Serpent Woman.
Whoa.
Now, the Serpent Woman is located in the same place as the Sedna woman that we covered in a very early episode.
Okay.
So it's Sedna and the Adlet. So we're talking that area of the world.
Right,
Okay.
right. These bad ladies related?
I would say they're related as much as a sheep man and a goat man would be.
Or the frogman being the cousin of the Bigfoot?
You see, Frogman could just be a Bigfoot with mange.
Yeah, true. It's all in the family.
Who knows? Right, okay, so Serpent Woman. Of all the monsters known to the Iroquois Indians living on the shores of the Great Lakes, the Serpent Woman is probably the most formidable and frightening. Now, you're going to find a lot of this familiar.
Yeah.
A paranormal female entity with the upper body of a giant woman and the lower body of an enormous constrictor snake. The Serpent Woman is over 100 feet long and can lift her muscular body to the heights of more than 30 feet. Because of her great size, she spends most of her time at the bottom of Lake Huron or Lake Erie. Are these two lakes linked, do you think? Or does she do a slither between them under cover of darkness?
Underground tunnels.
Oh, we're in Nessie territory.
Nice.
So, although she has a haunting beauty, the Serpent Woman's face, arms, and chest and abdomen are covered in silver scales. So, I'm not sure where the haunting beauty comes in there. Generally.
If you
Unless
like
she has
women
incredibly
scaling.
attractive fingers. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry, we're wrong. Her fingertips end in sharp claws. And two distinct fangs protrude from her full lips. This guy's trying hard. Nevertheless, the Serpent Woman possesses the ability to mesmerize humans with her movements, voice, and gaze. A lot like the Deer Woman we covered. Not the Adlet. That'll be the Deer Lady that I said it's similar to. Ignore me. So, she will often use this power to lure a man into her lake, where she embraces him in her coils and forces him to become her lover. What is this with these people?
These cryptids, man.
Just can't control themselves. After only a few days in the company of the Serpent Woman, the captured man begins to transform into a scaled humanoid monster. Surprisingly, the Serpent Woman was not always an evil, vile creature. In fact, she did not come to loathe humanity until she lost her one true love, a brave who was murdered by tribal shamans after they discovered his affair with the monster. I mean, yeah. But if I was out for a stroll by the edge of the lake, skipping some stones, maybe throwing some chips to seagulls, and I see you having consensual relations with a 100-foot-long snake, I would feel it'd be my duty as a friend to intervene, to
Maybe just
to stop that,
or even mention the fact that's happening. Do you know
or
what
at
I mean?
least make a phone call to somebody
Yeah,
on behalf of the snake woman, because it's not right.
it's not. I would expect that.
Good, because I guarantee you'd get that from me. You would get that intervention. So
Appreciate that.
anyway, so these tribal shamans, that's all they wanted to do was just intervene. But it got out of hand and he died. Forever after, she'd been spiteful and vicious towards humans. She will not fall in love for fear of suffering heartbreak again. Yet, she still steals humans from the banks of the Great Lakes to transform them into monsters of her own amusement and pleasure. So that was a serpent woman. Very similar to the deer woman. I mean, people that got their faces stomped and their throats cut. But
Yeah.
she's still going now because she goes to seedy nightclubs.
She does.
But that's a very similar story to, like I say, Sedna. Well, Sedna and Adlet were the same because of the cutting the fingers off and then becoming seals of whales and all that. But the deer woman and the serpent woman in Sedna have a bit of
similarities
in common because they've just got this thing about men and having to have them and kill them.
Got to do what you got to do.
You can't win, can you?
Are we saying so this particular cryptid, just getting it in my head, full on like pure snake form? There's no legs going around or
No. I mean, there are arms because she's got fingers.
Yeah.
Unless these fingers are just poking out of the snake body, but I'm assuming arms.
Right.
And she's got the long body. I'm thinking like a really, really, really big version of Medusa.
I was going to say classic Medusa from Jason and the Argonauts, or
but
whatever
not
it was.
with the hair, because
Yeah.
being a snake woman and have snake hair, that would mean if you'd have thousands of little lees hanging out your scalp because you'd have lee hair.
I ain't got time for that.
That's too noisy. Far too loads of little lees, like maybe all having different sleep patterns, and
Oof.
what a nightmare.
Grief, what a nightmare.
So, yeah, and that's when a haircut becomes murder. So, yeah, I think the snake hair is just silly. But yeah, that's the kind of image I'm looking at, but 100 feet long instead of just person long, like Medusa was.
Okay.
Right, moving on. So, yeah, that was the serpent woman who seduces men somehow, although being covered in scales. I mean, not my style.
Hey, this just came to me.
I'd be safe. You what?
You'd said this just came to me. Dating program with cryptids. They've all got the certain styles. Some will kill the guy if he's successful. Some will, no, they all pretty much straight up murder the winner of the program. But, they all have the different styles. Dear woman will date a guy.
It could be like death row inmates. Like Blind
It'll
Dead.
be like, no, I'm thinking more straight up British, kind of like Married at First Sight, Love Island, but instead of at the end where the contestants get together and argue, it's just a bloodfest of whatever cryptid has won the hearts of the men and just slaughtered them, basically. Yeah, that's kind of badass. I think that'll make good viewing.
Yeah, I can't see any issues with that. Yeah, it's a winner.
Sweet.
Sold. Okay, so we're going to move on from that because I think there's a longer conversation there, but it'll get silly. So, because so far none of this has been silly. So we're moving on to the Thetis Lake Monster.
Okay.
The Thetis Lake Monster, or as it's otherwise known, Canadian Lizard Man,
Whoa.
is a cryptid that was sighted twice on Vancouver Island, Canada. The creature was first encountered by two teenage boys in 1972. Now bear this in mind, 1972. And the Canadian Mounted Police sprung up an investigation from that. The monster was described as being an aquatic reptilian humanoid standing 5 feet tall and resembled a human lizard with a large head that was covered in barbed spikes. 4 days later, 2 men reported the same creature in the lake swimming and stated that the lizard man was covered in silvery scales. In a week, a man reported that his pet tegu lizard, an aggressive lizard that can grow 4 feet long, went missing. The police closed their investigation, stating that the lizard man was that lizard. However, many locals still believe that the Thetis Lake lizard man is still alive in the lake. Thetis Lake was the first regional conservation area in Canada and was established in 1958. It spans approximately 831 hectares of protected forest and parkland, approximately 20 minutes from Victoria, and located next to the Old Island Highway and a regional trail, which is a popular spot for hiking, swimming, fishing, and boating. Now, on the 22nd of August, 1972, no smartphones,
No.
the Victoria Daily Times reported that two local teens, this is the same story, but it's a bit more detail in it, claimed to have been chased from the beach at Thetis Lake by a creature which roughly resembled Gillman from the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh, yes. Gillman.
So I didn't realise he was called Gillman. I thought he was called, him. But I didn't know he was called Gillman. I thought he was called Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah, Gillman sounds... It's like your friendly guy from down the road.
Makes him sound like a neighbour.
Gillman? Yeah.
So one of the teenagers claimed to have been slashed on the hand by the creature, which displayed 3 webbed toes and fingers along with barbed fins on its skull, arms and legs, prompting an investigation by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. It was described to be roughly triangular in shape, about 5 feet tall and 5 feet across the base. I'm not sure what that means. At the time, the officers stated the boy seemed sincere, and until we determine otherwise, we have no alternative but to continue our investigation. 4 days after the story was reported, 2 men claimed to have spotted the creature on the opposite side of the lake from its first appearance. According to one, it came out of the water and looked around, then it went back in the water, then we ran.
As you would.
That sounds pretty much what my story would be.
Yep.
Although then we ran might come a bit earlier in the sentence. Yeah. The boys described the creature as shaped like an ordinary body, like a human being body, but it had a monster face. And it was scaly, with a point sticking out of its head and great big ears. They believe the creature had a human-like face, although it appeared to have scaly and silvery blue coloured skin. Unfortunately, 2 of the 4 witnesses came forward and claimed the sightings were hoaxes to get attention. Whether this is true of the remaining 2 witnesses remains in question. Similar creatures have been reported from places such as Ohio, Delaware, Louisiana, and North Carolina for at least the last century. They are said to be related to one another, cryptozoological creatures, the chupacabra. It's part of that gang. So lake monsters like this one are said to exist all over the world. Haida mythology from the Queen Charlotte Islands describes a similar creature with a human-like face, 2 tails, and often wears a hat. This creature is often feared by Haida canoeists.
Canoeist.
Specifically, yeah.
Yeah.
But canoeists suggest that he swims in the lake, but manages to keep his hat on. So, does that...
That's kind of suave.
But I'd rather be killed by a cryptid with style.
Exactly.
Unless it's a fedora. You know what I mean? But ultimately, this lizard man, Thetis Lake monster, just sounds like kids affected by the Creature of the Black Lagoon film.
Hey, at least he's not forced himself upon anyone. That's one thing you can say about this guy.
Well, he's got standards for a monster, yeah.
And that's why he wears a hat, because he's a gentleman.
Well, everyone keeps running, so maybe we don't know. Maybe he hasn't caught anyone yet, and maybe people he has caught and forced himself on haven't lived to tell the tale.
You never know.
And they're probably under some rock or in a cave underwater.
This is it. I'm not saying all cryptids, but you never know. You have to be cautious.
You do. You have to watch yourself. So, we're going to move on to the last one. And it's a long one because you've heard of this one. This is another famous one. But we're now on to the Beast of Bray Road.
Yeah. I'm familiar with this chap.
Yeah. This is not as much of a... There's reasons this is included in the Beast Man and Beast Women genre rather than the Bigfoot genre.
Right. It's a beast at the end of the day.
Well, yeah. In the name. So the Beast of Bray Road is a hairy humanoid with canine features that was sighted near the town of Delavan and Elkhorn in Wisconsin, mainly during the 90s. It was labelled a werewolf in local folklore. However, most cryptozoologists have labelled it as a Bigfoot in order to avoid dealing with the scientific absurdities involved with werewolves.
Okay. That's one way to put it.
Yeah. However, some people think that this is a cryptid canine instead, and some researchers consider the Beast of Bray Road to be identical to a kind of Wisconsin Bigfoot named the Bluff Monster or the Eddie. Other names that have been applied to the Beast of Bray Road includes the Bear Wolf and the indigenous Dogman. Now, the biggest Dogman sightings are from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So I'm leaning more Dogman. Maybe the Alpha. Maybe it's the Alpha and he goes off and does his own side projects.
I'm partial to Eddie as well. Whoever named him that.
Just Eddie, yeah.
Just Eddie.
Some Iron Maiden fan, maybe.
Yeah.
So the Beast of Bray Road counts as the most famous of modern American werewolves. It has been in the media regularly since the first sightings were publicised, and even had a low-budget movie based on its legend. Because of the numerous witnesses to have claimed to see this creature, the evidence supporting the Beast of Bray Road is far greater than the evidence supporting almost any other werewolf legend. I'm going to disagree with that. Because I think there is a more famous werewolf story, and that'll be the Beast of Gévaudan in France.
Okay.
With an awesome spin-off film called Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Yeah.
Which is just ace.
Great film.
Anyway, cryptozoologists, of course, do not generally take shapeshifters seriously unless they are fringe cryptozoologists who hold more of a paranormal view of things. Therefore, as with other werewolf reports, there is a tendency to force evidence into a more acceptable interpretation, discarding whatever circumstances and details of witness testimony do not fit with the chosen hypothesis. First of all, there are those who try to hold up something far more normal than the creature as it is described by most witnesses. Some say that all this fuss must be based around an escaped pet wolf, a large feral dog, a bear, or some other creature that is known to exist. So the origin, Elkhorn residents believe that the creature is satanic in nature. Many residents report that satanic rituals were very popular in the late 80s to early 90s. John Fredrickson was called to the site of multiple animal mutilations. In one case, multiple animals were discovered, and the local police wrote it off as an animal graveyard. John believed that the animals suffered a more horrific death, as he inspected and found many of the animals were missing organs. The location was bulldozed before any investigation was made. John Fredrickson, the Walworth County Humane Officer and the one in charge of investigating the strange sightings, said it was mostly teens doing these rituals, but in other countries it was more prominent with older adults. I said countries then, counties, apparently. He later found out from higher law enforcement that Walworth County was one of the 3 most notorious counties for satanic rituals. There are many Native American beliefs that would fit the Beast of Bray Road, but there are no local Native American legends that specifically connect them to the Beast of Bray Road. Probably because when Native Americans did run the place, there wasn't Bray Road. That sounds like a white man thing.
Yep. What was that?
On an unspecified day in May of 2020, I'm going to specify it as the 6th and make it my birthday.
Good man.
Yeah. Lake Geneva resident Ron Rice claimed that he had travelled to the town of Lyons to deliver a load of fertilizer to a farm on Highway 36, a job that he performs on a regular basis. While sitting in his truck on the farm's driveway after having completed the delivery, Rice looked to the side and noticed a strange figure standing at the edge of the tree line, approximately 150 feet away. Rice described the creature as standing nearly 7 feet tall and being covered in coarse brown hair. The creature picked an unidentifiable object off the ground and retreated into the foliage. On a late fall night in 1989, at around 1:30 a.m., Laurie Endrizzi was driving home via Bray Road. As she was driving, she noticed a figure on the side of the road. The figure was facing away from her, and she could see the pointed ears. As she kept driving, she was able to see the front of the figure. It was a creature with dark brownish-grey fur. The creature was kneeling, and she could see its large claws. The claws were holding a chunk of flattened animal, possibly roadkill. She believes the animal was the size of an average human, 5'7", and roughly 150 pounds. The creature had glowing eyes as the headlight of the car shined on it. The creature was not scared and tracked Laurie's car as she drove away. So that's another sighting. On October 31st, 1991, Doris Gibson was driving home on a smoggy day. While on Sittler Road, now called Hospital Road, she felt that her tyre lifted off the ground. She drove for about 50 feet until she pulled over to check her tyre. She thought she'd hit a small animal and it had got stuck in her car, so she got out to investigate. She didn't see anything at first, so she went to go to the back of her car. As she was walking towards the rear of the car, she saw a creature charging straight at her. It was a beast bigger than her with a hairy chest. She barely made it into a car and quickly stepped on the gas, rushing out of there. She doesn't remember how it was running. The only thing she remembers is the chest heaving as it was running up and its steps getting louder as it was stomping on the pavement.
Ooh.
She saw the creature again at a different time that isn't disclosed. After picking up a friend from a party, her friend pointed at a creature that was stalking the side of the road. Just, there's a creature over there, Doris. Doris didn't turn to look and instead stepped on the gas to get out of there as quickly as possible. After inspecting her car, a blue Plymouth Sundance, she noticed what looked like claw marks on the back of the trunk. Linda Godfrey, the author of the book, confirms that there were some markings that they could not tell where they were from. In late December 1990, Heather Bowie had an encounter with the creature. Heather's mum, Karen, also remembers that day. Karen recalls that Heather came home scared, saying she saw what looked like a dog until it stood up. Heather explains that she and her friends were sledding. When dusk rolled around, they saw a large dog-like creature. The creature had silver-coloured fur with brown patches, and its face was shaped like a coyote's. So that's kind of more pointy.
Mm.
The creature looked at Heather and her friends, who, while looking at the creature, slowly backed away, not wanting to turn their backs on it. The creature then started chasing the kids and got about halfway to their house before stopping and going back to the cornfield. Russell Guest, who was one of the kids with Heather, also confirms the story. So, moving on. Tom Brichter and his friend Chris Maxwell from Illinois had gone to a wedding reception in Genesee Depot in August 1992. Chris was staying at Jellystone Campground near Fort Atkinson, and Tom was driving him there. There was a thick fog on the road, and as Chris was driving, he hit something. Although Tom was driving Chris there, Chris was driving down the road. He hit something. He thought he had hit a mailbox. So he backed up, and after realising there was no mailbox, he saw that a big, hairy creature was walking and reaching out to them. He had the car window open and he said he could smell a horrible odour, like a skunk. The creature had whitish grey fur, and other parts of it presumably were black with some streaks. It reached out and scratched the side of the car. That's another one. Joe Shackleman claims his father, Mark Shackleman, saw the creature in 1936. Mark was working as a night watchman at a Catholic convent called St. Coletta, 2 miles east of Jefferson, Wisconsin. One night he found the creature on top of a Native American burial ground. The creature appeared to be clawing the ground, but quickly left after noticing Mark. Mark returned the next day to look for clues and said he saw marks on the earth made by 3 claws. He went back the next night at midnight, armed with only a flashlight. That night, Mark saw the creature again, scratching the ground by the burial ground. The creature noticed Mark and instead of running away, stood up and faced him. The creature was over 6 feet tall, covered with dark or black hair, and gave off a bad odour like rotting meat. It groaned something that sounded like Gadara. It seemed to have a neo-human voice and made eye contact, according to Mark. The creature then slowly walked away, leaving Mark alone. In 1972, David Getson claims to have worked as a DNR agent. I am not sure what DNR agent is. And he got a call from a woman who lives 2 miles from St. Coletta's grounds. She claims to have seen a strange ape-like figure walking in her farmyard. David drove out there to investigate but didn't find any trace of the creature. I'm wondering if a DNR agent's like animal control sort of thing.
Possibly.
2 weeks later, the woman called again, saying the creature walked up to her front porch, rattled the screen door, and left a slash mark 7 feet above the ground on her house. It then proceeded to go to a horse shed and put a 30-inch gash in the horse's neck and left.
Oh, vicious.
Pointless. Just slash and leave. That is vindictive, I think the word is. The story is told by David Getson, and the woman's identity was never found out. So, finally, we've got evidence. A retired high school teacher, Lee Hampel, who moved from Illinois to Elkhorn, Wisconsin, claims that one day while cleaning up roadkill, he found a raccoon and took it home. He placed it in a hole on his property line. A couple of days later, he discovered the raccoon had been cut open from the neck to the abdomen. He later found a badger and put it in the same hole, but then noticed the raccoon had been moved 20 feet away from the hole. He set up a camera to see what was causing the strange occurrences, and he placed a deer roadkill on his property and arranged the cameras to catch any activity. He claims to have seen strange flying objects and lights around his property. One day, he noticed the deer was gone, and when he checked his cameras, he saw the deer had been taken away by what appeared to be a mist. He also found tracks and made casts of them. On January 29th, 2020, Danny Morgan was driving down Weeks Road, which is a mile away from Bray Road. He claims he took a picture of what looked like a wolf walking on its hind legs and showed the picture. The picture is widely believed to be fake for several reasons. The right arm of the wolf looks like it's a skeleton or rod. The stomach looks unnatural, and as it should be lower due to gravity if it is walking on its hind legs. The creature appears to be in motion, yet the arms and legs don't have any motion blur, which leads people to believe that the creature is still. And that, Lee, brings us to the end of Beastmen and Beastwomen 2. What are your thoughts?
Very good. I'm always going to have time for beasts. Cryptids are my thing. If you're asking me which is my favourite, which you haven't done, but I'm going to tell you anyway, I would say I'm always got time for, like I say, the gang boys. Frogmen instantly kind of piqued my interest. Not as badass as the Gator Boys, but, you know, can maybe still hold their own. Gonna try and advise them to keep the wands in the frog pockets, because it's not going to get you anywhere in a fight. Goatman, I'm torn on, because he's probably the most savage of all the beasts you've spoken about today. Seems to be the most ruthless, but, you know, just stop being a sex pest.
With no regard for chastity, yeah.
With no regards, because I'm sure there's some unspoken cryptid rules somewhere where, you know, keep your goat thing in your goat pants and stick to your murdering, stick to the usual.
It must be an unspoken law. Yeah.
Oh, totally, mate. Totally. So, yeah, I'm going with the Frog Boys. Like I say, I think they seem to have the most personality of all the beasts today. I enjoyed the Snake Woman. Sorry, can't quite remember her name.
The Serpent Woman.
The Serpent Woman.
That was her name, yeah.
Picturing her as the most, like, strikingly visual of all the beasts, being pretty much half snake form, half lady. Again, like you said, Goatman came across a bit suave, a bit arrogant. Picturing him in a suit, macking on chicks who just don't want it. And it kind of takes away a little bit of the magic. Whereas your Frog Boys just hanging out on the street corner doing the gang thing. Yeah. I'm calling faves on them.
And then fleeing when the police turn up.
Hey, Frog's got to do what Frog's got to do. I kind of think my favourite from the first Beastmen and Beastwomen were the Gator Boys. So, yeah. I want to see all these guys eventually get together and duke it out.
So you're leaning towards the amphibian reptilian end of it.
Yeah, and being the logical dude that I am, I see that as more of the way that a half creature, half beast is going to go. I think we're going to probably naturally go more with the reptilian style. Hey, all the time in the world for a dog man, but just something about scales on a human kind of gets me going.
In what way?
In all the ways. All the wrong ways.
Right, so if we were to sit and watch V together, you would get something entirely different out of it than I would, and I would probably want to leave.
Do you mean V, the erotic drama from the 80s? Yeah. Unless you and me have a good session.
Yeah, where, you know, I can just imagine how excited you get when that guinea pig gets deep-throated. Yeah, I can just picture that, unfortunately. And that brings us to the end. I'm going to have to go and wash my eyes and forget about the last hour.
You do you, Mr. Wilson. I very much enjoyed that. And I don't know what's come over me, but I think I might hit up a few episodes of the old V. And I'll get back to you.
Got your juices going. Fair enough, Lee. You do you, and you enjoy your lizard stuff.